So then we are back with more understanding from the time of the Second Tabernacle services, a refined in the Aramaic English translation of the word. This translation comes from the original manuscripts of the prophets of the Israelic lineage. So then we can understand the time of the end. Then per the prophet Yeshayahu, the 61st chapter, we find then a layer of understanding related with the spring feast, mentioning of the autumn feast, and also the cities of the Messiah returning. So then, as the latest news indicates, then the kingdom of the East is already making great head start with Europe, and then Germany and many other countries of Europe. They are already lined up with China. So then, give us a very prompt understanding of Daniel, when he said, then the nations would then try to adhere to each other, but they would not. And then we find then the Eurozone in big trouble, but then China wisely coming during a very crucial time and making partnerships with those countries. So then when the Eurozone then breaks, then the Chinese system is nearing its completion as far as the downloading part of it. So then only leave us in North America holding then at the very last minute, but the problem is we do not have yet a monetary system where then we can make the proper adjustments regarding then the gold standard. It is extremely important having our USDV adjusted as per the gold standards, because China has tons of gold and they are using it obviously for the backing up of their monetary system, and they have a couple of them. They have a paper money and they also have the virtual. We only have, unfortunately, the paper monetary system, and it's absolutely exhausting itself, and we are not readjusting these USD with the USDV, where then a new system can be generated, such as then Bitcoin, or then the Chinese system yet coming. So the situation is truly very crucial, because during this time where then we were having hopes of maybe the Eurozone picking up, and it's not, obviously it's coming to an end, and leave us with our only option of then having a USDV based from the gold standards. These then takes a lot of work, because in order for this system then to maintain itself, would have then to have a combination of taxation and freighting, where then freighters can simply land their tracking system, so then they can use it for taxation purposes. As we understand from the past, there are then virtual systems not tracked. They have no link with government, they have no link with banking, and as you can do a search of yourself, you can observe them, for instance, Bitcoin system and the stores dealing or having trade using this new system. So then there is absolutely no record from the government. There is no record from the freighter as far as the items and pricing and taxation. So it is truly a huge gap of our lack or inability of combining taxation and freighting for taxation purposes in the future, when the virtual market or virtual monetary systems then becomes available. We don't have our own yet, making it very dangerous, because obviously the Asian market is geared up for it. Then Europe is already in the hands of the Chinese. Thank God they came in a very special time, rescued the entire European area, and then only is us then in North America doing only the same as we used to do, as then using a paper money system that is no longer holding its value. But then while there is active, the USD is yet active, then the importance of USDV what a person can purchase in a system, USDVs, but then no relation with the central bank or then the government itself. You must have a trade where any person in the world can purchase USDVs and do trade on their own. So then the same way as it used to be many years ago when the USD was after the gold value or the gold standard, it should be done in a virtual form, so then we can compete with the market in the future. So then we understand the Chinese sent many equipment up there in space, and every time, nearly every month, you find a new equipment over there. So indicating then the organization of China and raw materials. Some 10-20 days ago, then the Asian countries, they came and they signed deals regarding mining. So then gives you the proper understanding of backing up then the raw materials. Then CMC from China, the largest corporation in China, went to Africa for the infrastructure development and mining. So then another section of the world already backing up the raw materials. Then we find then the BRICS countries then dismantling the USD or monetary system, or then the paper side of USD, and then they have their own replacement. But we have time yet of obviously coming up with the USDV, is a virtual monetary system of US, where then it is after the gold standards, so then people can start purchasing and then make the proper adjustments as far as the inflation. So when this USDV becomes available and you want to purchase a unit of USDV, then truly you will have then inflation, and then the exchange for it, you have to pay a whole lot more many USDs to get one USDV. So then this means this discrepancy of price gives you then the danger path that we are at the moment facing, because there is not a way of revaluing our USD. We don't have enough industry. So then since the last visit, the premiers then of China went to many countries in Europe and they closed many deals, and these means then linking up their banks, linking up their banking system, because the Eurozone is not going to last for very long. These then forces of coming up with USDV, so then people can start purchasing and then making sure the same gold standards used in our country uses then in China. We must try to find an average of these gold standard and come up with our own, so then we can use in our own country. And being prepared becomes then partners of the new trade of the future, because the downloading is coming real fast. It might be much faster than we ever thought. So then watching the news very closely, you find then these many areas of the world being linked up, lined up, but then we ourselves, we are far and far away from a virtual monetary system. And it is absolutely detrimental, because we won't be able then to hold the leadership of the market anymore. Not with the USD. If we can come up with the USDV already readjusted with the gold standard, then we can compete with the world's market. But the USD is absolutely devalued. That's why then the BRICS countries are then dismantling the USD amongst themselves. There is a reason for it. You don't start something this big without having already a virtual system and at the same time a paper system combined with each other and flexible, interchangeable. Those are huge countries involved, the entire Southern Kingdom with the Eastern Kingdom, and then other countries involved. You have to understand a banking extremely elaborate. Thus far, we don't have the entire details, but you can be sure of it. They do have a market of a virtual monetary system among themselves. That's why then they want to dismantle the USD. But then if we are smart and we then start our own USDV, then we can remain in the market as partners, and then people can do the proper transfers. So then when the financial ruin comes, at least the government has a couple of situations. Firstly, then the USDV itself, average of the gold standards worldwide, making us then partners. And then the second, having taxation and freighting lined up, so then the system itself is maintained. For instance, USPS has its own tracking system. Then the government must start working in such a way of having then tracking, description, taxes. Extremely important. So then these are then deducted and then absolutely then transfer over then to the government via then the new gold standards of USDV. So then our economy becomes then a transition from a paper devalued and then in a system where there is a unit in our own system where you can purchase and then transfers can be made, so then it is upgraded for the average price of the gold standard. Then our nation is able to halt this huge paper money printing and then obviously inflation. So we must come up with this system, because precisely this system that the Chinese have. They don't make such a big moves, extremely expensive moves, if they don't have then a paper money system and then a virtual system at the same time. Those are related with each other and very flexible. That's why they can make such a big claims of having a banking of their own with so many nations involved in distinct exchanges and so on and so forth. It's extremely complex. But then when you understand the virtual system of monetary value, then you begin your quest. Well, how these people are going to work with the same bank if some nations then are weak, some of are strong? You must have then some sort of a virtual system where they can make the proper exchanges. But then because of the valuing of paper money around the world, you must understand then they have the virtual system based from the gold standard and never devalues. That's why they can make so many bold moves. Then you find in China, Germany, and then Switzerland, and so many other countries, Ireland. That's why they can make these deals so much. And then you find in China buying always more gold. Always more gold and more gold and more gold, because they are basing their virtual monetary system after the gold. That's why they have so much of it. But if we do our homework, if we start USDV and then upgrading our freighters with a taxation and then combining deduction of taxations in USDVs, then people can make the transition a whole lot faster. And then we become partners in the future. Because not only this, China has its own system of investment, own system of monetary virtual system, and also the investment side of it. There is an obvious understanding where then virtual monetary systems then can be combined and then invested in a virtual exchange, no middlemen. But then at the same time, the investments made for the Chinese market. So for instance, if you have USDV and you don't have then the yen, monetary yen, virtual yen, then there is obviously a way of doing an exchange yet investing. So then there are lots of these virtual areas where then we are not truly taking it seriously as far as our situation with a very devalued paper money. And then when you hear then the countries of the BRICS, understanding then the volume of trade of China is roughly 4 times then of ours. And then you find themselves speaking of dismantling of the USD, it should raise red flags everywhere, indicating we should then come up with USDV and buy units of these so then we can become partners in the future. Not only this, later, if we don't do this, and if we then insist of going against the Asia market, at some point China will to join up with the Soviet Union, and then we observe unfolding before our very eyes then Daniel the 11th chapter. But then we don't know the situation afterwards, not having USDV yet, not able then to halt ships at sea, and then not having tracking, not having taxation. Ships trying to dock at the port and not able because won't have space. Not only this, but then the government has no record. They don't know what's in the box. How they're going to relieve unsearched boxes to the public. But then the freighter has a binding contract with buyers and must be delivered. So it is truly a big predicament. So you must think of these areas because Europe is already taken. There is a compensating system coming for the euro, where then China has its hands in helping then the European Union situation. So we should then come up with USDV where people then can start buying it and then become partners in the future.